Call this February 10th, 2020, meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item we have is the approval of the minutes of the January 27th, 2020 regular meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes for January 27th, 2020.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, second item we have is past the hour of 7 p.m., Class 2 license, to consider an application for a Class 2 license for premises located at 7 Belmont Street, Route 9, as submitted by Stephen Nash, doing business as Fourth Dimension Auto Sales. Do we have a representative here? Okay, if you want to come up. Yep. Just, you can sit. You just want to tell us a little bit about what you're going to do?
We plan to open up a car dealership, used car, automobile, have a 17-car used lot, and we're just mainly selling the cars on that property, fixing them elsewhere.
Okay, so you're going to fix them there? Not fix them there?
Not fix them there, no.
So you're just going to have the 17 cars?
Yep.
And police department, you're okay with this? Okay. Questions from the board? Okay, Leslie?
I just want to make sure that you're all set with the parking plan and that's going to be sufficient, that will work as it's outlined here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It should be pointed out that this was an existing car dealership and the parking plan has not changed. Julianne?
So I drove by the property today. It looks like there's 7 Belmont Street, 7A, 7B, 7C.
We're 7C.
7C, so that's to the right of
If you're
the...
facing it, all the way to the left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the left, and there's the yellow house, and then there's another bigger brick building with a smaller little building to the left, all the way over. There's a, I'm pretty sure if you have this here, there's parking's all laid out for you.
We do.
I have this right here.
Yep.
So I actually don't understand how this was written. This car dealership, the ability to do it, you've been grandfathered in because it's within the 2 years.
Yes.
Are you asking for additional parking spaces?
No.
Oh, okay, all right, that clears everything up, okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move the board vote to approve the application by Stephen Nash of Fourth Dimension Auto Sales for a Class 2 license for premises located at 7 Belmont Street with the condition that satisfactory inspections are performed by the fire and building departments.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Good luck.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm all set.
Yeah, all
Thank you
set.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Practically painless.
Thank you.
Okay. Past the hour of 7:05 PM, David Parenti, Fire Chief, approval of Fire Department ambulance fees collection policy and approval of proposed ambulance fees. Chief, you were with us at our last meeting,
I
so
was. Thank you, Madam Chair.
you don't need to represent, I guess.
Nope,
unless you
well,
want
but I just
to.
wanted to, so I was here last meeting, we went over the reasoning behind the increase and bundling the billing and presented you with the draft policy. So tonight, we're here just to ask you to approve the new fees and to approve the policy.
And I think it all made a lot of sense, so. Any questions from the board?
Nope, it all made sense.
Okay. Hearing no questions, do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move the board vote to approve the fire department ambulance fee collection policy as presented by Fire Chief Parenti.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. Do I hear another motion? Another, yeah.
Need to approve the fees.
Want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move the board vote to approve the proposed ambulance fees as presented by Fire Chief Parenti.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Reports. Julianne?
Oh, okay, so I would like to report on the Northborough Cultural Council first. This group awards grants to artists and visionaries who bring art, cultural events, and projects to the region. The committee members have been reading and awarding grants for months now, and they will be holding their reception to honor the artists on Thursday, February 27th at 6:30 at the library. And I have a report on White Cliffs. The committee met on February 5th. Our meetings have been concentrating on providing general possibilities for reuse of the building. We decided that in addition to studying municipal and event space usage, we would also add residential use as a possibility just to consider. The architects will get back to us in March with information about these broad categories so that when we do have community discussions, we'll have information for anyone who has questions. And that's it for me.
Okay. Leslie?
Okay, thank you both for your reports as usual. Wonderful. And I need to read the police department report a little bit more. And I wanted to thank Chief Parenti for the stats that you put on Facebook. It's always fun to see that, even just by gender, age, day of the week. I love that. I think it's great. I know Tim likes all the
Yes.
statistics and such. So it's great to see, and I think it's nice to share all that. That's wonderful. So both of you really do a great job with all the info that you provide. Really very much appreciated. Last week on February 5th, I attended the Northborough K-8 School Committee meeting, and their meetings are always very interesting. Firstly, they voted on a budget of a 3.15% increase over last year's budget, which sounds pretty good. I don't know exactly what they cut out. They really didn't go into that. They are working their way toward free full-day K, I know that. They're phasing it in. That's really the best they can do because there's so many fixed costs with their budget. They can't just all of a sudden just adopt free full-day K. But they are trying to do that. So the other interesting thing I thought was that Kyle Parsons, who is the head of the cafeteria, food services director, did a very nice presentation on what his department is doing. And something that I had kind of forgotten about is the fact that with our plastics ban that went into effect on January 1st, it does affect the schools and the cafeterias in terms of no styrofoam and straws and all those different things. So they're trying to figure out some innovative ways of handling that. Paper straws are not apparently successful. They don't work well. They kind of dissolve by the end of the drink, and things like that. So they're even thinking, I think, of potentially going back to silverware. Of course, you have to wash that. The water has to be hot enough, and that has to be taken care of for sterilization. But that's something that they're considering. But it really proves to be kind of an interesting situation for them because they do have to abide by it. It's not just, let's try and be innovative this time. It's something they really have to work with very, very carefully, so very sensitive about that. And he also showed some pictures of some meals that they're putting together to try to get kids more interested in buying school lunches. And he's really done a nice job with some of the meals. They look very, very good. And hopefully they're attracting more kids to the cafeteria to buy. So I thought he did a really, really nice job. It was nice to hear him speak. And lastly, I just wanted to say I'm very happy that the front of the town hall is finally being worked on. Yep. It's because of the weather and...
There's a couple of things. One, we had a lot of difficulty getting contractors to come and look at a small job like this. I know it seems odd, but with the wet spring, a perfect example is when we looked at trying to get roofers to do White Cliffs. We went out to bid multiple times. The bids were outrageous because the roofers were all booked and they were 3 months behind. And so it was really difficult to get a contractor. Now, once we got a contractor, then we changed the way that the block is going up there. They're going with some precast stone to make it a little lighter and hopefully keep the issue from coming back. And so that precast stone took several months to order. So we were waiting for that to come in. But I'm very pleased that they're up there, they're working, despite the fact that all day I just hear brrrr right outside my window. Makes it a little hard to work, but I'm glad to see the progress getting done. But this past cycle has been unbelievably challenging for us to get contractors to do smaller jobs. And as I think all of you are aware, we ultimately wound up getting an emergency repair waiver from the Division of Capital Assets Management, which is the state agency that oversees the public bidding for this. They actually agreed with us that, you know, $1 million for the White Cliffs roof wasn't a good deal for the town, despite the ridiculous public bidding requirements. And we were able to go out and solicit some local contractors. You've heard me say this year after year, and you've heard me say it to our legislative delegation when they come in. These laws that are designed, oddly enough, to make the procurement transparent, boxes out small contractors from these jobs. And so we wind up with large contractors paying prevailing wages, and we pay a premium for that. And I've shown it, and I've documented it time after time, and, but again, I don't think the political will is there. We went so far, for some of our newer members, we went so far as to have special legislation filed on our behalf, the town of Northborough, to exempt projects under $50,000 from the prevailing wage laws and some of these more arduous requirements, because we'd like to work with our local contractors. And I'll give you a perfect example that we had, and I'm not even making this up, the bids on White Cliffs roof were $1 million. The local contractor who actually did the roof on White Cliffs 25 years ago did it for $78,000. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But anyway, as far as the front is concerned, it's very difficult getting contractors to come, trying to get bids that aren't overly inflated because they don't want to come for these small projects. But the real holdup on this one at the end was getting that precast stone. The lead time on that, I think, surprised the DPW director and myself. But in any event, it's in, and next couple weeks that should be completed.
Will it look different at all because of the precast?
It'll look a little bit different. Basically, instead of replacing these really large stones, they're going with several smaller ones that'll be easier to anchor, less likely to pull away, and hopefully prevent the problem from recurring.
Fantastic.
So,
That's wonderful. Thank you.
you're welcome.
That ends my report.
Okay, Tim?
I just wanted to welcome Eileen Bogle as the interim director at the senior center. It's great that we have somebody to come in and who is very qualified to handle things while we go through the search for a new director at the senior center. Going to the Council on Aging meeting tomorrow night and look forward to meeting her. Thanks to both the chiefs for your reports. Chief Parenti, I saw that you guys had a pretty busy month and a couple interesting situations, so it's always great to see the, well, it's not great to see that you guys are busy, but it's always good to see that the investment the town makes in various equipment gets put to good use. It's, you don't know you need it until you need it, so. And then for Chief Liver, just from your report, there's one section in here where you specifically point out and commend Detective Sergeant Griffin for the work that he did, and I just wanted to extend a thank you to him as well for the work that he did on that case. I'm sure it was not an easy thing to work through. So, yeah, and just the subject of it. So, just thank you very much, and pass on our thanks. And then you also talk about the phone scams that are going on in town. If you don't mind, can you just say a couple words about that, just so people have some idea of?
Well, they do some research on social media about a family. They'll look to see if there's pictures of a grandfather, and they'll find out grandchildren's names by doing family connections on my friends, so to speak, on Facebook. Then they'll call an elderly grandparent and pose and say that they'll imitate or try to sound like the grandson or granddaughter, usually out of the country, and they've been arrested, or they've been arrested down south somewhere, and the charges were leaving the scene of a motor vehicle accident. The bail is $12,000. And I'm not gonna be brought to court unless I get it, but don't tell mom and dad because I'm supposed to be in school. So they're playing on the grandparents' trust with their grandchildren. They wire the money overseas, and it's gone. So we had one elderly subject in town lost $12,500, and about 2 days later, another one lost $11,500.
God.
And the $11,500 one, the people called back several hours later and said that the person that was injured in the car accident that was caused by their grandchild was also 7 months pregnant, and they lost a child, so the charges were increased to motor vehicle homicide, and the bail is now $65,000. And, you know, banks are kind of clued into this, and made a phone call.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was totally a scam, so. Westborough's been hit, I believe Southborough, but it's making that lap around town, or in the area.
Is it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume that if somebody gets a call like that they can hang up and call and verify with the police department, say, hey, I just got a call, can you let me know if my relative has been?
Usually they're giving a fictitious location where they are, but really what they need to do is just hang up and call their grandchild or call their parents and say, you know, is Johnny okay? Because what ends up happening is they eventually do, because they don't get a phone call back when he got released. You know, so they call and say, how'd things go? And they, what are you talking about? I'm home in bed, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
okay, it's just terrible. Thank you for that. I think it's important for people to be aware that that's going on. And then lastly, just wanted to say thank you to Officer Stephen Sullivan as well for his work last month. That ends my report. Thank you.
Okay. No report, John?
Just want to make the board aware, I had the pleasure of attending an event today. Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito was in town, and she was here for a demonstration at St. Gobain up on Goddard Road. They were the recipient of a Massachusetts Manufacturing Innovation grant. And so they were there demoing their partnership with UMass. I'm not going to do this justice, but essentially they have fiber optic that gets woven into fabric and gets underlaid across bridges and other infrastructure, and it's able to sense if there's any stresses or issues with that structure. And so again, this is something that it's innovative, it's basically still in testing, but they had demos, and again, they received a grant to develop this. And it was nice to see the partnership between the state, the university, and a terrific Northborough company. So, but it was a very nice event, and I'm glad that the Lieutenant Governor was able to come out to it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Brings us to public comments. Any public comments? If you'll come up, please.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
And for the record, your name?
My name is Diane Smith, 65 Reservoir Street, here in town. On behalf of the Town Common Committee and the Arsenault family, we would just like to request that the Selectmen take under advisement a date, hopefully in May, for the unveiling of the Town Common and the new war memorial.
Do you have a date that you'd like?
We were thinking the Arsenauts were thinking the first or second week in May. This-
If I may, so I understand that the chairman, who is not here today, had emailed me already and staff.
Okay,
So
good.
we're already in communications with him and Amy Pereski. So
Okay.
I'm not sure if she's
Yep.
told you that we'd already been working on this.
Yep, she did, and she just suggested that we come tonight to formally get on the record, is asking you to look into it and let us know.
Okay.
All right.
It will
Thank
be
you.
held in May.
We'll see.
Okay.
I need to check with the DPW director, and there's a lot of logistics that we'd have to work through.
Okay. That does bring me back to one comment, and maybe while you're here, you can answer it, Diane. The railings that are on the fence, are they stained or treated in any way? I had somebody question me about that the other day.
I believe that the process is that they will be sealed, but we have had discussions with the DPW director about staining them black.
So something will be done with
Something will
them?
be done.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, yes, look, come on up.
Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to make the public comments tonight and last meeting. The immediate response I received by the town assessor to reach out to me to correct my assessment increased remark of a raise of only $50,400, not $70,000, and an increase of only 10 cents a thousand, not 25 cents a thousand, was appreciated. Unfortunately, it did not really take the sting of the increase away, but it was nice that he reached out to me and gave me the information. Tonight, I'm here to inquire about the 2 new permanent electronic 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs that were installed last week on the short side of Davis Street. I have a photo. This is amazing. So how does one go about obtaining these signs? What's the process of submitting and approving street signage, specifically this type of electronic signage? Who and how is it initiated, and does it require a traffic study? Since the standard state speed is 35 miles an hour, what's the process to have the speed reduced to 25 miles an hour on neighborhood streets? Does it go before the Board of Selectmen to be an approved sign, much like that of the 2 stop signs submitted by the town engineer at your last meeting? Or, how do we actually go about doing that? What's the cost of a sign of this nature? Is there a grant available for it? Who would apply for it? This is a great idea, and I'd love to see it on Northgate Road, Lincoln, and Whitney Streets on their crosswalk signage. Is there a pilot program, and if so, what other streets are slated for the installation? I'm curious to how Davis Street was chosen to get first priority. Perhaps you can direct me to the proper departments to start my inquiry. Is it the DPW, engineering, or your board? Who do I request the backup documents required for these signs? I understand that you cannot comment on these questions tonight, but how do we start the process on other streets in town? Everyone is concerned about the increased speeding problem in their neighborhoods, and this is a wonderful, proactive approach. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Just to address part of it, those are all movable signs, right, Chief?
No.
Oh,
Those
these
are
are,
owned by the police department, they're portable, we move those around.
Okay.
Based on requests for traffic enforcement. We put the signs up for a week, 2, and then we do enforcement on the street.
But these 2 are not.
By the DPW.
okay, I haven't seen them yet.
Do you want to see the photo of it?
That's all right. We'll get you some information from DPW Director. Unfortunately, Scott is at getting approval for another project this evening at another committee meeting, but we'll get you some information.
Okay, everybody? Thank you. Okay, execution of election warrant for March 3rd, 2020 presidential primaries. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I move the board vote to execute the election warrant for the March 3rd, 2020 presidential primaries.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay. Execution of cemetery deed 1092.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move the board vote to execute cemetery deed 1092.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Okay. Any other business to come before the board? Motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?